it's really rethinking, okay, what does this leadership look like in the Aquarian age? What does power look like in the Aquarian age? And how can I be with the shadow aspects of leadership and power that are being so flagrantly shown right now in the world?
This is the Miracle Zone.
I ask, I see, I know, I trust, I be.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Miracle Zone podcast. And today I really want to explore the themes of power, the shadow of leadership, and becoming a sovereign CEO. And I'm going to share a story with you that I experienced in Egypt that really shifted my relationship with power, and also talk a little bit about what that invites us to do in our internal work as we work with expanding into our power as leaders. So, when we look around the world today and we think about power, in these times specifically, we see a lot of conflation of power and leadership with the themes of abuse and control more and more anywhere we look, right? This is really common as a theme that we're seeing in the world right now. And so it makes sense that as we are stepping into more and more leadership and more power, that we're going to have some blocks around actually saying, yeah, I want power. I want to lead, right? Because of what's been associated to it and what is still being associated to it, given this very patriarchal, colonialist world that we've been living in for the past several years, right? And so we're in a time of shift. So we know that a different type of leadership and power is possible. We also know it from our own past life experience, right? So we have that remembrance within us, but we also have all of this baggage of what's been conditioned to what this actually means. And so I'm seeing this come up a lot more now in working with my clients and in myself because it's so prevalent in the external world. It's so blatantly obvious that power is being abused and it's really used to control people. And so I want to share a little bit about this because what I see this looks like is usually one of two things. So depending on where we are in our relationship with power, we might give our power away. And this is really common, right? So we give our power away to coaches or mentors or to other people in our lives. We let our energy leak. We might give our power away when it comes to guiding our team and letting other people maybe stay on that we think are no longer a good fit, or not really being able to be effective leaders because we are not comfortable actually making decisions that might hurt other people. We're afraid of hurting other people. Maybe we're afraid of upholding boundaries, be it with clients, be it with family members, be it with people on social media, right? And so there's this aspect of giving power away because we're not quite comfortable holding it again, because we have this aversion to really claiming and being in our power. Another side of the spectrum is hoarding power. So sometimes it goes the other way. So sometimes we over control in our business, right? And I see this with clients that have more of a difficulty actually delegating and are more stuck in the micromanaging. And I have to be in control. I have to be involved in every decision. So then what is our goal? Our goal, from my perspective, when it comes to new earth leadership and this new era that we are stepping into, is really to find a way of interdependence so that we are sovereign in our leadership and in our power, so that we're not giving away our power and just not engaging with it. And also, we don't want to be overly controlling and overly hyper independent, where we have to be in control and do all the things ourselves. The Aquarian age is about co-creating. And so it's going back to what I think we all have are these remembrances of sitting in council and working in this interdependent way to co-create with others. right? And so it stops being so much of a hierarchical team structure, but it becomes more of a matrix structure. And there's different approaches to this that I'm not going to dive deeply into. I do help my clients figure this out. Different teams do it in different ways, but it's removing this hierarchical structure of power and control in how we're running teams and in how we're making decisions and in how we're creating in our business. And it really brings us into this interdependence. With you as the leader and CEO, still the sovereign leader and holder of the final decision making and final authority, but in a way that feels very different than what we have been seeing in the more patriarchal model. And a lot of this is rooted in you being in your miracle zone, operating at your highest potential, and then having others in your team and in your business also being in their zone, operating at their potential, at what they're good at. And so finding that right mix so that everybody is contributing in this way and is supporting the other, and that there's flexibility and adaptability too. For example, I spoke in episode 24 about taking time off or something happening so that it becomes really more of a living ecosystem that can keep going. Even if one party needs to take a break or take time off, there's still this living, breathing ecosystem of the business that is still functional, still serving clients. And it's not like all of the power and all of the decision making and all of the implementation is hoarded in one specific place. And there's systems in place to help ensure that, yes, things are getting done and things are getting done efficiently. And it's not just a free for all, but it's really rethinking, okay, what does this leadership look like in the Aquarian age? What does power look like in the Aquarian age? And how can I be with the shadow aspects of leadership and power that are being so flagrantly shown right now in the world? A lot of this is what we do in the Pillar of Light Miracle Mind. So I invite you to check that out in the links, because it's really about leading from our fullness and our wholeness, both working with the masculine and the feminine and integrating that, both working with the human and the divine and integrating that. And then also looking at shadow and light and integrating that, which is a big piece that I see when we're working with expanding more and more in our leadership and growing our businesses. Is a lot of these shadows come up and we don't necessarily work with them, and they end up being these barriers instead of really what's supporting us to get to the next level in a more whole and more integrated way. So I want to end just by sharing a story from when I went to Egypt. So last year I went to Egypt, and there was a temple that we visited. And in this temple, I got to sit with Sekhmet. And so you sit with this amazing sculpture, which is not a sculpture, it's very much a presence, right? And I got to spend time just there connecting with her energy. And when I was sitting there in front of Sekhmet, I closed my eyes and I started feeling this vision coming into form around me, and my hands raised up. And as I sat there, what I started to envision was my hands with blood, soaked in blood. And what started going over and over in my head was, how will I ever be forgiven? How will I ever be forgiven? How will I ever be forgiven? And so it was me asking Sekhmet, how will I ever be forgiven for all of this blood that I have in my hands? And I could see that in past lifetimes, I have been in a position of power where I have been the abuser, where I have been the one in control, where I have been the one creating the wars. I had so much blood on my hands. And I could see how in this life, it was keeping me from really stepping into my full power and claiming it in my own work and business and life right now. And so that's when I really saw how this shadow of power can show up in our lives. That of all the things that was shown to me in that moment, because I really didn't see this until I was sitting there with Sekhmet, was this weight of the shadow of power. Because a lot of times I hear, and I work with clients on, healing our victim mentality, healing our victim mentality. But how many times do you hear about healing our abuser mentality, our perpetrator mentality? Especially because a lot of us are here doing beautiful light work and wonderful things in the world. And so I got this amazing transmission from her as I asked her this question. The message that I got was, you don't need to be forgiven. You have experienced power in other forms in past lives so that you know how to hold it differently in this life and use it for good. There is nothing to be forgiven. There is nothing to be forgiven. I want you to just sit with that. It's what allows us to have compassion for others and to understand why abuse exists in the world and why power is misused in the world, because we have been involved in that ourselves as powerful beings who've been here in previous incarnations having different experiences. But it's also given us the wherewithal and the understanding and the strength to show up with that power in right relationship with it in this life to serve the higher mission that's needed in these times of transformation. Be able to hold that power, hold that light frequency and bring it into our work, because we've held that before. We know the pitfalls. We know the temptations. We know what we need to do in place. We know we need to do the identity work. We know we need to do the ego work. We know we need to do the shadow work, right? Because it's so easy to slip into that as we see around us. And so there is nothing to be forgiven. It's how will we use that in this life and what we've learned to be more powerful and potent leaders. So I invite you to check out Pillar of Light and consider joining me for that. This is part of the work we do, is this healing work. We work with past lives. We work with in the Akashic records as well. We work with shadows as well. All of these things, all of these areas where the power is getting fragmented and we're not being able to bring it into ourselves and really hold this very clear pillar of light for ourselves, for our work as vessels, for our message, for our clients, and in doing so to be able to connect with other pillar of lights, because we are not here to do it alone. And that's the beauty of this. Also interdependence and the Aquarian way. It's not just within our teams and the ecosystems that are there. We have that circle, but then we have a broader circle of other pillars. All right, my love, thank you for joining me. And this is actually going to be the end of the first season of the Miracle Zone podcast. So I will see you for season 2.
I trust I be.
Thank you for tuning in to the Miracle Zone. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a transmission. And if today's episode and conversation resonated, leave a review and share it with a fellow visionary leader. In the links, you can access my free Miracle Business Blueprint, the 7-part framework I use with my clients to create a thriving, scalable, and self-sustaining business that gives you more freedom, not less. Plus, you'll receive a guided process to identify where to focus first so you can spend more time leading in your miracle zone right away. Let's build the new as a collective for the collective. Together, we're not just creating miracles, we're living them. Until next time, stay in the miracle zone.